You know what's truly dangerous? A man who doesn't chase, but gets chased. A man who's not desperate for love, but becomes so unforgettable, so emotionally and psychologically addictive, that a woman finds herself checking her phone every few minutes just to see if he's still around. Not because he's the best-looking guy in the room, not because he's rich, but because he has something no one else offers. An experience of masculinity that feels rare, magnetic, and grounding. We're not talking about being a nice guy. We're not even talking about being the typical alpha male with fake bravado. We're talking about becoming the man that enters a woman's soul like a beautiful obsession. The one she compares every other man to. The one she imagines in every version of her future. And if you think that's out of reach for you, you've already bought into the biggest lie they told you. Because this isn't about being born with something. It's about learning how to embody certain psychological triggers, mastering a masculine presence, and knowing how to build a connection that feels irreplaceable. Neil Strauss said it best in The Game. It's not about impressing her, it's about affecting her. And that's the foundation of everything you're about to discover. Now here's the truth. Every man can make a woman feel interested. Few know how to make her feel attached. Even fewer know how to make her feel devoted. But only a rare type of man becomes someone she can't even picture her life without. And it starts with something deeper than lines, looks, or tactics. It starts with energy. With the way you carry yourself before you even say a word. A woman feels who you are before she knows who you are. Your posture, your tone, your silence, your ability to create space and tension. Those are your weapons. You don't walk into a woman's life trying to take. You walk in creating an experience. You offer her what no other man offers. A sense of safety in the unknown. Adventure without chaos, intensity without instability. And this is where most men fail. They try to win a woman over with comfort, with availability, with effort. But what actually bonds a woman emotionally is tension, uncertainty, contrast, masculine depth. The subtle unpredictability that keeps her mind racing and her heart invested. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a woman say, "I miss you," not because of how often you're around, but because of how she feels when you're gone? That's when you know she's hooked. That's when your presence has become an imprint in her nervous system. But how do you become that man? How do you build an emotional gravity so powerful that even when you're silent, she hears you? It begins with the inner frame, what you believe about yourself, what you allow, what you tolerate, what you expect from the world, is what she will respond to unconsciously. David Data, in The Way of the Superior Man, teaches that a man must live from his core purpose, that when you live with a sense of direction, you stop chasing women, and women start aligning themselves with your mission. Women don't fall in love with potential. They fall in love with certainty, with emotional leadership, with the man who knows where he's going and doesn't flinch when things get messy. Because the truth is, every woman you'll ever meet is emotionally chaotic to some degree. And they don't want you to fix that. They want to know you can hold it, that you don't react like every other man, that you don't collapse under pressure, that when she tests you emotionally, you don't become needy, you become more grounded. Women test men for one simple reason. They need to feel that your center is stronger than their storm. And when it is, that's when the deep attraction forms. That's when loyalty begins. That's when she starts to picture a life with you. Not because you convinced her, but because you became the calm in her chaos. And let's be real. If you're still trying to impress her, if you're still trying to be liked, you're not ready to be unforgettable. Because being unforgettable isn't about approval, it's about polarity. It's about owning your edge. It's about leaning into your masculine power without apology. You want her to feel a little off balance, to wonder what you're thinking, to crave your presence because it makes her feel more like a woman, not less. That's seduction. That's depth. That's impact. And this is only the beginning. There's a moment in every truly unforgettable interaction with a woman when words become unnecessary. She looks at you, and instead of asking herself what to say next, she asks herself what you're thinking. That's when the dynamic shifts. That's when she starts orbiting you. Not because you did something flashy, but because you've made her feel something rare. Here's the secret. The man she can't picture life without is not the one who gives her everything. He's the one who makes her feel everything. That means Your presence evokes a spectrum of emotions, not just pleasure or validation. She feels curiosity, challenge, safety, desire, maybe even slight frustration, but never boredom. Boredom is the death of attraction, and unfortunately, most men play it too safe. They suppress their edge in hopes of being accepted. But acceptance is not seduction. Seduction lives in tension. You must become a man who plays in that tension like it's home. You tease without being disrespectful. You listen without losing your frame. You lead the interaction, not because you dominate her, but because you're not afraid to be misunderstood. That alone makes you stand out. In a world where most men crumble under rejection or ghosting, you become the man who doesn't flinch. That's intoxicating, because what she's truly looking for is emotional stability wrapped in mystery. Let's break this down. She doesn't need you to be a robot who never shows emotion, but she needs to feel that you're in control of your emotion, that you can feel deeply without falling apart, that when she comes to you emotionally overwhelmed, you don't try to fix her. You simply let her be while you remain calm and open. This is rare, and it's exactly what makes a woman imagine you as part of her future, not just as a partner, but as a centerpiece of her emotional life. Let's take a lesson from Erich von Markovic, aka Mystery, one of the pioneers in the seduction community. Mystery taught that attraction has a formula: DHV plus tension plus storytelling. That is, demonstrating higher value, creating emotional spikes, and captivating through narrative. But if you take this further, you realize that the highest value you can demonstrate is your emotional discipline, your unshakable self-respect, your refusal to be controlled by validation or rejection. When a woman sees that you won't sell yourself short just to win her, when she realizes you have standards and you're not afraid to walk away, you go from being an option to becoming a psychological imprint. Now let's talk about something crucial: the emotional patterning of women. Psychologists have shown that women form deeper attachments through emotional novelty, followed by reassurance. In other words, they crave emotional contrast. One moment she's unsure of how you feel, and in the next moment, your touch, or a few grounded words from you, make her feel like she's the only woman in the world. That contrast is addicting, not manipulation, but dynamic, masculine polarity. The average man tries to be consistent to the point of dullness. You create a dance, not chaos, but movement, a rhythm of intensity and stillness, passion and composure. That's what triggers emotional investment. That's what separates you from the rest. Let me give you a quick example. Let's say you're texting her. The average guy responds within seconds, keeps the energy light, and compliments her constantly. He wants to show he's a good guy, but you slow the tempo. You respond with intention, sometimes playful, sometimes mysterious, sometimes deep. You leave silences that make her wonder. You create space, and then fill it with meaning. What happens next? She starts waiting for your words. She reads your text twice. She screenshots your responses and shows her friends. Because your communication carries energy, and that energy is rooted in your internal state. If you feel abundant, centered, grounded, she will feel that through every interaction. You're not texting her to get something. You're inviting her into your world. That's the shift. That's how you go from being a man she dates to the man she feels connected to even when you're not around. You don't seduce with desperation. You seduce with alignment, with presence, with the refusal to be anyone but your full grounded self. And once she's felt that, every other man she meets after you feels just a little bit empty. There's a specific kind of silence that only powerful men can hold. A silence that doesn't beg to be filled. A silence that commands presence. Because in a world that's constantly shouting, a man who can sit in stillness and own the moment without scrambling to impress or entertain becomes unforgettable. You want to know the truth? She'll forget the guy who made her laugh. She'll forget the one who complimented her every day. But she'll remember the one who looked her in the eyes and made her feel completely seen, without saying a single word. That's power. And that power comes from depth. From living a life rooted in meaning. See, most men approach women hoping to find themselves through her validation. But the man she can't picture life without? He approaches life first, and women are drawn to how he moves through it. This isn't philosophical fluff, it's psychological wiring. Humans are attracted to what feels anchored, to what feels like it doesn't need anything from them, yet welcomes them in. That's why your relationship with solitude matters. If you can't be alone with yourself, if you dread silence, if you chase distraction, then your presence with her will always carry a hidden sense of lack. And women feel that. Even if you smile, even if you say all the right things, she'll sense the underlying hunger, and it will repel her, even if she can't explain why. But if you're a man who's built peace in solitude, if you've confronted your own shadows, if you've created a life filled with purpose, then she doesn't just see you as attractive, she sees you as safe. Not the boring kind of safe, the rare kind. The kind that makes her want to open up parts of herself she's hidden from the world. Because women want more than protection, they want to be witnessed. And you can't witness her fully if you've never learned to sit still with your own mind. This is why emotional depth is so seductive. It's not about being a poet, it's about having clarity on who you are, what you stand for, what you will and won't allow into your world. That clarity makes your energy magnetic. Now let's talk about feminine emotional pacing, a concept few men understand. Feminine energy doesn't move in straight lines. It flows, it spirals, it moves through joy, uncertainty, tears, seduction, and back again. And if you try to control it, if you try to box it into logic or timeline, you kill the connection. The man she can't stop thinking about is the one who flows with her but doesn't get swept away. He laughs when she's dramatic, not to mock her, but because he knows the storm will pass. He doesn't take every word personally. He feels her, but never abandons his own center in the process. This is what holding frame truly means. Not being rigid, but being fluid with a backbone. Being open, yet not reactive. Empathic, but not emotionally submissive. When you embody that, you don't just become a lover, you become a sanctuary. And in today's world, where women are constantly pressured to be something, the moment she finds a man who allows her to just be and loves her complexity without needing to fix her, you become more than her desire. You become her peace. That's when she starts imagining what mornings with you feel like. That's when your absence starts to sting. That's when you become a presence that lingers in her thoughts, in her body, in her subconscious. Let's look at a deeper insight from Robert Greene, author of The Art of Seduction. He teaches that the most powerful seducers don't give everything at once. They create a sense of unfolding. You don't show your entire emotional world on day one. You let her peel back the layers over time, each layer revealing more depth, more texture, more story. This gradual revelation builds anticipation. It builds trust. It makes her feel that every interaction with you is part of something larger. And that's what makes her return, again and again. Not because she's addicted to you, but because she sees a future with you that no one else has even made her imagine. A man who makes her feel like she's entering a story, not just a hookup, not just a fling, but a journey of growth, challenge, and intimacy. That's the man she can't let go of. Because you're not offering her a role in your life. You're offering her a place in something sacred. And that, brother, changes everything. There's a language more powerful than words, a form of communication that bypasses logic and goes straight into the nervous system. It's not your voice, it's not your compliments, it's your body language. Before you even speak, your body tells her how much you respect yourself, how grounded you are, how in control you are of your environment, and most importantly, how she should feel around you. You can say all the right things, but if your body is stiff, your shoulders are collapsed, or your eye contact is weak, she won't feel it. She won't trust it, because women don't fall for what makes sense. They fall for what feels real. This is why presence matters more than perfection. Let me ask you something. Have you ever entered a room and sensed a man's energy before he said a word? Not because he was loud, not because he was flashy, but because he owned the space. He didn't fidget. He didn't try to prove anything. He wasn't seeking attention, but somehow, attention found him. That's the effect of embodied confidence. And that's what women remember long after you're gone. To build this kind of presence, you must first reconnect with your physicality. Not just looking good, but moving with intentionality. Your gestures are slow and purposeful. Your eye contact is steady. You don't rush. You don't over-explain. You let your silence carry meaning. You lean in slightly when it's time to escalate. You pull back when it's time to build tension. You use space as a seductive weapon. Because the man who understands how to use space, how to create it, how to close it, how to master the rhythm of proximity, can create a level of attraction that is primal. This is why some of the most powerful seductions happen before the first kiss. They happen in the build-up, in the pauses, in the looks that last a second too long, in the way your hand almost touches her lower back, but doesn't. That's not accidental. That's designed. That's mastery. A woman's attraction is heightened when she senses restraint. Not because you can't have her, but because you choose to pace it. And that pacing communicates everything. Control, standards, experience, patience. It makes her feel that you're not like the others who rush, who beg, who stumble. You're orchestrating the interaction, and every moment with you feels like part of something bigger. Now let's go even deeper. Beyond body language and pacing, there's something even more powerful that separates you from the rest. Your personal mythos. In other words, your story. The narrative you live by. The meaning you've created from your life. Women are deeply drawn to narrative men. Men who've been through things, men who've learned from pain, men who don't just exist, but live with significance. You want to be unforgettable? Then become a man with layers. Not because you're trying to impress, but because you've experienced depth. The man she can't imagine life without is not the one with the smoothest lines. He's the one who makes her feel like she's joining something epic. Something with chapters, mystery, emotion, conflict, victory. You don't just talk about your goals. You live them. You embody vision. You have a sense of direction. And it's not just about success or money. It's about building something bigger than yourself. That's intoxicating. Because when a woman feels that your life is on a path worth walking, she doesn't just want to be close to you. She wants to be part of your story. But here's the trick. You don't need to tell her everything. You don't need to lay your whole past on the table. You let her discover it, bit by bit, through small stories, through subtle reveals, through contrasts between your actions and your words. This gradual unfolding keeps her engaged, not just in the relationship, but in you, as a character, as a force, as a presence. And when she feels she's discovered a part of you that no one else gets to see, you create intimacy, not just sexual closeness, but emotional exclusivity. And that is what makes her obsess. She starts to feel like being with you gives her access to something sacred, something that others won't get, something that can't be replicated or replaced. You become a man who's not just desirable. You become legendary in her emotional memory. And legends don't beg. They don't chase. They don't break frame. They build worlds and invite her into them. You don't need to become a superhero. You don't need to fake confidence or memorize lines. You need to become a man who walks through the world with meaning. A man whose presence speaks louder than his words, whose energy calms storms, whose depth creates devotion. When you stop trying to be what every woman wants and start becoming a man who knows exactly who he is, everything changes. She stops seeing you as one of many. She starts seeing you as the one her mind can't stop returning to, the one whose absence she feels in crowded rooms, the one whose words echo in her thoughts late at night. Because you didn't just make her feel attracted. You made her feel something deeper, safe, seen, challenged, alive. And that is what makes you unforgettable. Now, if this resonated with you, if you feel like you're ready to step into the version of yourself that doesn't beg, doesn't chase, and doesn't apologize for being powerful, then don't keep this message to yourself. Leave a comment below. Tell me what part hit you the hardest, because your story, your thoughts, your breakthrough might be exactly what another man needs to hear today. And if you want to keep leveling up your mindset, your presence, and your power in relationships, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who needs to wake up to who they really are. This isn't just content. This is a movement of men stepping into their truth, into their edge, into the kind of power that makes women not just want you, but need to keep you in their life. Thanks for watching. And remember, the man who masters himself masters every room he walks into and becomes impossible to forget.